Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, in the last 2 years, the federal government has taken deliberate steps through entrenched programs to boost agriculture that used to be a major revenue earner and employer of labor. Now, this the government has done through programs that include fine-tuning access to land and funds, improved seedlings, fertilizer, and with a friendly public policy which the states tapped into to boost agriculture, thereby recording success stories. Now, Kebbi State in recent times recorded a high yield in rice production. The same with Kano State in tomatoes, as well as Anambra State, which has commenced the exportation of vegetables. There are plans of building industries like a tomato paste plant for value addition and other products to support industrial growth. More lakes and dams are being revitalized for all year-round farming. Now, analysts say this will boost food sufficiency and security, and this will also discourage dependence on foreign foods. But how are the youths embracing agriculture for gainful employment? What is in place to improve and extension services? And what more to expect in the years ahead in the agricultural sector? The question is, has the Buhari administration done well in agriculture? And what are the prospects and challenges ahead? This is the agenda of Tuesday Live tonight. As the APC-led government marks a second year in office, we'll raise these issues, but not before we get to see this background report by Musa Baba Aliyu.
With depleted foreign reserves, falling oil prices, leakages, and debts, the Nigerian economy is in deep trouble.
When President Muhammadu Buhari took over the mantle of leadership 2 years ago, he made it clear that his administration will implement a policy that will ensure food self-sufficiency in the country, at the same time cut down importation of what can be produced locally. This was based on the concerns that billions of naira that we are going down the drains on excessive importation of food items. To fulfill this promise, a policy known as a green alternative came into force towards mobilizing and encouraging farmers to produce more and provide market for their produce. Presidential Committee on Wheat and Rice was also constituted with the aim of identifying factors affecting the production of the commodities in the country. The report of Food and Agriculture Organization and that of World Bank shows significant food production nationwide.
We have to create at least 36 agri-processing zones in the country, or 6 if we want to create it geopolitical zones, and to make sure that whatever that is produced in each zone is processed there. By the time we start processing the food we're talking about, you see, we add over 50 to 60% value to the raw produce.
As this year's rainy season farming activities commenced, farmers are hoping that inputs, especially fertilizer and improved seeds, will be made available to them.
We want government to support small farmers and the big farmers.
Even food has to do with cost of transportation, cost of how you buy your inputs.
As they let them, upscale their production, there's sufficient market, not only for Nigerians, but the entire West African sub-region. So there is enough incentive, from federal government through the Anchor Program scheme, through other, programs that we have, the GES and other programs that we have in the Ministry of Agriculture, to encourage agribusiness and upscale, investment in.
If, as a result of climate change, the amount of rainfall is reduced, then of course that will affect the flow downstream, and invariably that will affect plant production, except if now the farmers are well informed to now plant crops that will not need too much water, So, and this is the things that we are trying to do so that the farmers, the users of water are properly informed, from time to time, so that we can make the best of this water that is available to us for all the various uses.
The questions begging for answers now. will Nigerian farmers be able to produce as much as what they recorded in 2016-2017 wet and dry farming season? Will the climate be favorable for crop production? And what support will be given to farmers who are returning to their community after Boko Haram insurgency? In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Now that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guest to you tonight on the program. We'd like to welcome to NTA Tuesday Live tonight the Governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me also welcome to this program Governor Muhammad Badaru Abubakar of Jigawa State. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Here is also introducing on tonight's program Aziz Muiwa Musbau, who's Director, Agri-Business Processing and Marketing, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We're also joined tonight by Prince Ike Obaka, who is President, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Alfan.
It's my pleasure.
All right. And let me also welcome to this program Zakariau Darazu Abdul Rashid, who is General Manager, Network of Stations of NIMET. That's the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right. As usual, we acquaint you with the procedure. At the appropriate time on this program, you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screens. We advise you take advantage of them. However, for those who will be calling in, we always say this every Tuesday. Do us a favor, when your call gets through, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume. And that's the way to avoid the hurlback or echo. And the best way to know your call has been passed through is you'll see your name appear on screen. Now, once your name appears on screen, it means your call has been passed through to the studio. Just go right ahead with your question or comment. Do not bother about the greetings. Just go straight to the point. And we encourage you to make it as brief as possible so that others can also get on the platform. So once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. Let's begin by taking a general look at agriculture in these past 2 years. And it's just a broad outlook of agriculture in the past 2 years. Let's begin with the Governor of Kebbi State.
Thank you. I think perhaps the best starting point is to acknowledge the clarity of policy objectives that had come from the federal government that, yes, agriculture is the way to go, recognition of the multifaceted nature of agriculture, fixing domestic ability to produce, appreciating the policy, the trade distortions that impact agriculture from outside, because you can fix your capacity to produce locally, but because agricultural commodities are internationally traded, and despite the existence of World Trade Organization, we have not yet been able to achieve an agreement which had eliminated distortions, particularly those distortions coming from the developed countries where agriculture is heavily subsidized to the detriment of developing countries. So for President Muhammadu Buhari and his government to appreciate all this and provide leadership, and in spite of those challenges, set the scene so that we are on the way to developing agriculture as we ought to, both for our domestic market, for our regional market, which is our reality that we are a member of the ECOWAS plus million market, and in fact in our ability to compete internationally. So the economic policies of the last 2 years, the agricultural policy had helped. For the first time, we have seen significant buying of Nigerian agricultural commodities from other countries within the sub-region and even outside the sub-region. So that suggests that the policy framework in place is working, and that suggests that if we sustain it, we will be able to record more growth particularly in the light of data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, which confirmed that despite the recession, despite the economic downturn, agricultural output had contributed to not less than 5% growth per annum in the Nigerian economy.
All right. Well, we'll look at those areas in finer detail as we go ahead. But let's come to Governor Badaru Abubakar. And generally, opening comments on what agriculture has been like in this past 2 years.
Well, I believe the message sent to us, the governors, and probably the government is clear. The days of oil economy is over, or it's almost over. So there is urgent need to diversify the economy. Hence, the government is putting a lot of effort, both at federal and at state level, to diversify the economy. And to do that, we need to have agriculture and agri-value chain to diversify our economy. And that has been the message sent by the Mr. President. And I think it's all acknowledged by almost all the state governments. And we see production increasing over these years, and we see a lot of yield improvements, as well as competitive agriculture, where we increase yield, reduce cost of production, thereby making our agricultural output competitive internationally. This has been happening all in these 2 years, and I believe as we go further, we continue to look at all the cost element in production with the federal government, like what we did with the fertilizer initiative, to reduce the cost element for the farmers, while we continue to improve the production and the yield, thereby making us strongly competitive around the world. And I think, for instance, Jigar and Kebbi already reaching to some level of competitiveness in rice production. Yields improving from 2.53 tons per hectare in the previous years to 7-8 tons per hectare, and we see production costs dropping significantly because of the bulk purchases of input that is being given to farmers, availability of funds for farmers to buy at the right time, at the right price, as well as new initiatives developed in production, so that the cost of production became less, while production increased, thereby creating competitiveness, and then believe sustainability will happen.
All right. You made mention of a key input, fertilizers. That's one area I would like to return to in greater detail. But let's hear from the Director of Agri Business, Processing and Marketing itself. It's, you know, this is a pretty large scope for you. So first we might even begin to ask, is agriculture business now? Have we widened our processing? And what's the general outlook in marketing?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Stober. And let me, first of all, commend President Muhammadu Buhari for making it very clear, right from the inception of this administration, that agri is the way to go, like His Excellency Governor Bagudu mentioned. Yes, Nigeria has over 923,770 kilometers square of land. Yes, Nigeria is made up of 84 million hectares of arable land. Yes, out of the 4 major rivers in Nigeria, Nigeria has 2 major rivers that transfers the whole length of Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria has the population. Nigeria has the market. Yes, Nigeria has fertile soil. With this, we can say Nigeria has the potential. But nobody eats potential. What we eat is food. Nobody drinks oil, nor smokes gas. What we eat is food. This is why we need to commend His Excellency for giving a clear-cut directive to Chief Audu, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. And this explained why the Honorable Minister has put forward the green alternative, which is a new policy that is now being used to achieve the green revolutions. To specifically address your question, one, we are now making sure that inputs are reaching the farmer. We are making sure that we are providing appropriate storage, that is on-farm, buffer stocks, and the strategic reserve. We improved the capacity of our strategic silos. We are taking extension to the farmers. We have restructured the Bank of Agriculture. We are making funds available to farmers. And the end result, the total end result of this is now increase in food production, increase in yield, increase in productivities. We've started reducing the post-harvest loss. Let me take, for example, the rice production, for example. We are almost narrowing the gap between the production and consumption. Only between 2015 and 2016 alone, we've been able to produce 17 million metric tons of rice. Nigeria is now the largest in West Africa. We are doubling rice production. We are improving our irrigation system. We are making mechanized farming very close to the farmers. We are improving our processing. Just before the inception of this administration, the total numbers of improved integrated rice mill in the country stood at about 10, but we are having close to 26 integrated rice mills in the country. This shows we are making progress. And to cap it all, the total growth of agriculture in 2016 as brought forward by the Bureau of Statistics stood at 4%, and agriculture is still growing, and we are hoping to hit 6% this year. Thank you very much.
All right. It's nice to reel out all these statistics, but I suppose there's one man here who will tell us from the perspective we all want to listen to, and that's Prince Ike Ubaka, who's the farmer here now.
Well, in leadership, you dictate the direction. You show the light for others to follow. Yes, at the takeoff of this administration, the President, His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, actually mentioned and showed the light where to go. That because of the fluctuation and the instability of the oil market, it has been affecting our performances in our inward economy. Based on that articulation, he now said we have to go back to what made us a standing nation. That was agriculture, which we, all of us, collectively, one way or the other, abandoned and neglected. And showing that light for others to follow, unfortunately, was distorted by skirmishes which we had subsequently in the last 2 years. It's unfortunate, and I will say, may the souls of my colleagues who lost their lives because of instabilities and incursions in these communities rest in peace. You see, one thing is to say this is the direction, and another thing is to have a buy-in process. The direction was mentioned, but you find out that there is a lacuna in the policies in this nation, in all facets, in all economic sectors. It is sector skewed, all the policies. So we still drive that as you and us. The critical stakeholders are not involved per se, because when you say the critical stakeholders are involved in policy design, we should know the contributions they make. But in this case, the policies of this nation is public sector skewed. The private sector is not there. And you cannot be developing policies for me to buy in when I have no contribution, there's no inclusiveness. And at the end of the day, you want me to own it and drive it. So it's good to make that leadership directive. This is the way to go. Another thing, diversification in agriculture, all facets, not cereals alone, rice, yes. Our target shouldn't be rice for 2 years. We have different segments of agriculture. So it's supposed to be integrative and holistic. Integration, like in Jigawa, I know that most of the sesame seed I've eaten in Tokyo, Japan, came from Jigawa State, Hadija Plain. Then if we are talking about the area in Jigawa, people producing this sesame seed in Hadija Plain and Harubo, you find out that nobody is mentioning them. So there are other commodities that we have. There was a time textile was, driving this nation. We have not got policies that will now talk about the stakeholders in agriculture that will drive the cotton, so that we will create employment. If we go through rice, not all the states have rice. So I'm not condemning the rice, but we have to take up others. We have the livestock sector. We cannot establish the livestock sector for the north where we have the large ruminants without tannery. So is the cotton without ginnery. And then we cannot highlight sole commodity. It is not to our advantage. We have the tree crops, the economic crop. We have cashew. We have all this. So our policy is supposed to be inclusive. And then this idea of public sector skewness has to drop. Because even extension is pluralistic now. The private sector drives the extension. Because extension, we are in the field. We know what it takes. But the policy on extension is always public sector skewed. And everything about public is budget dependent. Now look at it. 2015, you know the hullabaloo about the budget. 2016, the same thing. The performance of the budget was not up to 30%. And this year again, we have passed the budget and we're in May. And we're talking about rice. You see, if our agriculture is budget dependent, we will not get out of the woods. Right. That is one. Then the research we are talking about. Research itself is treated, which is the backbone of agriculture. Research is treated as public sector thing. You will see people from assistant research officers trained to professorate level. And when they're supposed to be contributive with volume of investment in their training, they'll be retired. And then there will be no follow-up. So in the last 2 years, we have seen a lot of people existed, the research. We have seen a lot of people, the extension, comatose. So there is something that we need to get back from our agricultural system so that the private sector will buy in, and then it will be society-industrial linkage, okay. All inclusive. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll return to some of the issues you raised, but let's come to the General Manager, Network of Stations of Nigerian Meteorological Agency, and it's a straightforward question to you to set this discussion from your perspective. Has nature been clement? Have we taken advantage of what we know about the climate to boost or improve our agricultural practices? Have we provided the necessary support for the farming population?
Thank you very much. From the point of view, there's the dynamic point of view. I believe over the years, the seasonal rainfall prediction being produced by Nigerian Meteorological Agency has been a very veritable item, because over the years we enlightened farmers on the onset, cessation, and the length of the rainy season. And we observed that the farmers are appreciating it over this period of time that we present the weather prospect. And why we said this is we guide the farmers on when to start planting their crops. Years back, it's like once the first rain fall, the farmers, especially at the rural areas, will just go to the farm and start planting. But we observed that at the end of the year, the yields over these years were not much expected. So Nigerian Meteorological Agency came up with the seasonal rainfall prediction, which is more of a science-based climate information. What we do is to enlighten the farmers that at such a time of the year, it's good time for you to plant, and the rains will start around this time, which is the onset. When we said onset, it's not the first rain that falls. That's the mistake most farmers or most people are thinking. Onset are determined by some scientific indices. So, but when we said the onset, based on our seasonal rainfall prediction, once the farmers go by those guidance, and then they go, for instance, we said the rainfall over the northern part of the country is usually quite different from what applies in the south. The southern parts have earlier onset of the rains, and as you go far into the country, to the extreme north, these rains keep what you call now increasing. For instance, in the delta area, you'll have about 3,100 millimeters of rain over there, while at the extreme north, just about maybe 400 millimeters. So if you look at that, NIMET now will tell the farmers, you that are in the extreme north, where you have more of cereals, it's expected that you plant early or early maturing seeds, crops, and then you get fertilizers and then other inputs. By so doing, if the farmers go by this our prediction, we observe that they are getting better output from their crops, and then they reduce risks, because not going by the prediction will either at the beginning of the season, the crops may just may die, thus they will burn because the fertilizer has been applied. If the rains are not enough, they will burn the seeds. Two, again, the crops may not even grow because the herbicides that may be applied around this time may kill the seeds around those times. So Nigerian Meteorological Agency, to a large extent, over the years, have assisted farmers in seeing that they have the best of their production and reduce risks.
All right. Well, Governor Bagbudu, you heard what Prince Ike said. He says so much emphasis has been given to rice. There are other produce, but we will, of course, for very obvious reasons, start from the issue of rice here. And let's go to your state. And he's mentioned that there are so many gaps in there. But your state is coming out as one of the states that has recorded a significant success in the production of this crop. At what level are you right now?
I think I beg to differ from him. The program, particularly the Anchor Borrowers Program, which was graciously put in place by the Central Bank of Nigeria, courtesy of the approval from Mr. President, is not a public sector driven program. The rice farmers associations are the key players, and I have attended numerous meetings with the Minister of Agriculture, with rice farmers associations across the 36 states and FCT. And the federal government, commendably, under the acting president, Professor Yomi Osibanjo, created a presidential task force on rice and wheat, which includes the president of the Wheat Association of Nigeria, president of the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. That's as high as it can be, a policy framework which under the able leadership of the acting president, that provides a platform for program design, input into policy making, so that we can achieve better outcomes. Again, it's not correct to say that the emphasis is on rice. The Anko Boros program is not a rice program. It's a program where each state, each commodity association can organize themselves and approach and get funding and also support. What we did with rice is some of us felt it's a low-hanging fruit because historically many farmers are involved in rice farming. And for the record, 36 Nigerian states produce rice plus FCT. And so it's easy for us to start with a commodity which the value addition is significant, especially given the fact that foreign exchange earnings had dropped significantly. So a traded commodity like rice provides an opportunity for you to excite investors, to mobilize stakeholders and achieve more value addition. And that's what we did. In Kebbi State, we, under the Anko Boros program, our rice farmers borrowed about 14 billion. But the value of output created by that 14 billion, we believe, is in excess of 100 billion. And then many people are engaged. We employed so many people. We have new mills that have been set up in the state as a result of the boost in output. The farmers are happy, the producers are happy because there's no shortage of market. The economic policy, the effect of devaluation had made Nigerian rice competitive. And this is a story across the country for rice farmers, except of course in the last few weeks there has been a dampener with the stories going around that rice is being imported duty-free and the rice that is auctioned elsewhere with doubtful health benefit to our people is finding its way into the Nigerian market. But otherwise, it has been a great story.
Now that you speak of it, well, how does this play out? Making huge inroads into increased production of rice. How does it play out that rice is still being brought in to take away the gains that we're making in this production?
Well, earlier on in my introduction, I spoke about rice being an internationally traded commodity like many other commodities. We are competing with other countries and they use all kind of distortionary measures so that they can sell to us rather than buy from us. Some countries have huge public sector rice stocks, which they auction occasionally at significant discount below the below the market prices. And these economic agents, being driven by profit, will always attempt to bring such rice, even if its quality has been adjudged poor by our regulators, particularly NAFDAC. So there has been significant pressure by those import lobbies to continue importing, even when the Nigerian stakeholders have embraced government policy and we are moving very close to self-sufficiency. I can even say maybe we are even there.
All right. Well, our phone lines are already open, and the very first call tonight is coming from Kebbi State. Well, okay. Well, we've lost that call, but it's noteworthy that the first call was coming in from Kebbi. So unfortunately, we lost that call. But we'd like to encourage you to keep those calls coming, and we'll take them as they come. But let's move on to Governor Abubakar. Now, perhaps this might be some of the gaps in policy that the president of the All Farmers Association was referring to, these distortions that are caused by other countries that have a huge stake in particularly rice production, for instance.
Well, that is true. And in any production or any business, you expect competition, you expect distortion. How you manage to live through it depends on how well you present your situation. And our situation, like I said, is presented very well. We have huge support from the federal government to produce rice. We are working day and night to produce rice sustainably, increasing yield, reducing cost of production, so that we can compete with whatever country that produces rice, as long as it is the right quality of rice that is good for human consumption. So I believe we are aware of that situation, and we are working hard to see how we prevent such rice from coming to Nigeria so that they don't affect the health of our people. But for quality rice, like I said, we are getting close to being in competition with the world, price-wise. The cost of production for rice in Kebbi, Jigawa, and Kano, and most of the states now is becoming lower and lower and lower by day because of the economic of scale involved, because of cross-stream farmers, like I said, because of so many reasons, the prices of input, and so many reasons. So we are getting close to having the same price of rice internationally, and we can compete internationally. That is one. Two, I want to also come on the issue raised by the chairman or president of APAN, that it is only rice that we have been concerned with. That is not true, because in Jigawa, for instance, we work on 5 crops heavily: rice, wheat, sesame seed, groundnut, and soybeans. We also support the normal production of millet, corn, and maize. But every state look at the climate condition, the water situation, analyze its own competitiveness, decide what to grow. In Jigawa, like he said, we have good potential for sesame seed. We have very good potential for rice around Hadejia Valley. We have good potential to produce wheat around Ringim area and Burnukudu area. We have good potential to produce groundnut again around Burnukudu, Kazaure, and Babra. We identify areas where we have comparative advantage on producing these products competitively and embark on them. In fact, we produce more sesame than we do with rice. And this is all being supported, like the governor of Kebbi said, by Anko Borowa's program. The Anko Borowa's program is not only for rice, but it's for all the crops that the state believe they can produce. And also, we meet weekly on agriculture in Jigawa State. We have a team that we call agricultural team that I head. Every week I have 4-hour meetings with them. And the chairman, Afan, Jigawa State, is always there. And in the local governments, they have these similar meetings, and the chairman of Afan in those local governments are always there. So we carry the farmers along in everything we do in most of the states. I know this for Kebbi, I know this for Kano, and most of the states we interact. We exchange ideas to see how we can boost agriculture. But I believe maybe his presidents in the states are not briefing him well on what is happening, on what is happening in the state. But I think there is a real, very good network and very good, clear respect and relationship built by Afan and other private sector. We have about 5 or 6 rice mills coming up, and all built by the private sector because of the synergy. And we have private sector supporting our farmers on our grower program. They give the seed like we do, the government gives them all this, and buy the rice or buy the commodity from them as an act grower. So that is the heavy engagement of the private sector.
Okay, let's go back to the phones now and hope that we can get this call through from this time from Lagos. Nura is calling in from Lagos. Hello, Nura.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Calling from Lagos. Yes, I like this program. This Dr. Abubakar. I like every way he talk. I like how.
Well, there goes that call. Well, I encourage you to call back, and this is what we said earlier on in the program. Just go straight to the point. You don't know when that might end up as a dropped call. So let's encourage those who are calling in to go straight to the point so they can state their case as quickly as possible to avoid the syndrome of these dropped calls. But yes, back to the studio here, and the issue has been, yes, there is a policy, a roadmap given by the federal government. But would you say that it is entirely like the president of All Farmers Associations says? Would you say it is skewed? I'm using the same word. Is it skewed towards the public sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think I'm very happy that this question is coming up. And I want to say that the current policy we are running is only government-enabled but private sector-driven. And I would like to cite Chief Mbaka himself. This is the first time I've been in the civil service for over 30 years, close to 32 years. This is the first time we are having the widest consultation in the development of this policy. It took part. We were there for almost 3 weeks, sitting and discussing this policy. We had a dialogue with all sectors, with the private sectors, with the producers, with the processors. This policy is being driven by the private sectors. And let me quickly address some of the issues he mentioned. Let's take, for example, the Anchor Bora program. And I want to commend, and I will want to also congratulate His Excellency, the Governor of Kebbi State, for chairing and for driving on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria that Anchor Bora's program, which I'm sure Chief Mbaka is very, very familiar with. The farmers are private people. They borrow money. Those who are making the funds available to them, the fund is being made available to them through the MSME Development Fund. It's channeled through the Bank of Agriculture. The off-takers, they are the private people. They are the processors. Those who are selling the inputs to them, they are the agro dealers in Nigeria. They are the private sectors. Those who are selling the insecticides and other chemicals to them, they are the private sectors. The bankers that are providing credit to them, the commercial bank, the microfinancial banks, they are the private sectors. And the processors that are processing it, they are the private sector. Now, along this value chain, where is the government? I'll quickly leave this and also go to and also explain that the green alternatives covers major crops. It covers rice, it covers wheat, it covers cashew, it covers tomato, it covers livestock, it covers aquaculture, it covers fishery. It is not skewed towards rice. Before Cyril Stober, let me also state that under the Anchor Bora program, we started with rice because it is low-hanging fruit. Because rice is one of the commodities where we are currently spending, where we were spending not less than 1 billion naira to import rice. We've successfully reduced that, and we are continuing to reduce that. And that is why we originally focused on rice. We've moved to wheat. We are now bringing in livestock and eggs. We are now bringing in soybean. And I want to say, and to prove this, that Nigerian will soon start, and we have started, and this will soon be officially launched, the exportation of yams.
Okay.
India has also expressed interest to us to take our pulses.
Okay.
This is a tremendous development. And the only people that are exporting it, that are dealing with it, they are private sector.
All right.
Government is only facilitating by supporting them.
Good, you mentioned the yams. We'll come to that in a moment. But we have another caller calling in from Owerri this time. Wachku from Owerri. Hello, Wachku. Go ahead.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Mr. Wachku Tochku Kajet. I'm calling from Owerri.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I really commend what Mr. President, the President of Farmers Association, I really comment on what his own opinion. Everything he said is the right thing that the Mr. President should do.
That's it?
Hello?
All right. Is that all?
So this is my comment.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, and we hope you stay on the program so we can get more out of you. Right, so let's come to you. Now, you say you know that there are gaps in here. What would you or the association have the government, the administration do differently?
Well, thank you very much, Cyril. You see, I became appreciative for the continuity as stated ab initio in trying to show that the previous administration and the present administration, there is no gap, as you know, when it concerns agriculture. If you read the Green Alternative, it will tell you that it is continuation of ATA program, that there is no difference. Okay? Now, in that ATA program, it is the continuity ATA program built on the previous administration on commodity initiatives. We had maize initiative, we have soybean initiative, that was during Chief Obasanjo's regime. And then when Yar'Adua came with immediate past, president, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, they continued from those initiatives. And that was why we were getting increased in. So I really commend the continuity as mentioned and reflected in that Green Alternative. Mm-hmm. But the lacuna is there in the implementation details and execution strategy. If the previous administration carried along all sectors of agriculture, and then this one is emphasizing on rice. Let me reveal to you, a bag of maize now, I am in the poultry subsector, okay? A bag of maize now, embarrassingly, here, goes for 20,000. Okay? Now you collect this thing, there are other factors involved. Let us not paint rosy picture. Because the skirmishes we have within the Saminaka area, where we know is the headquarters of maize, definitely impacts on the maize price and availability. So we have to address that issue. We can't paint pictures. Right. Now, if you now see the soya, we are saying later, nothing waits. Agriculture does not wait, both in budgeting, and that's why we said agriculture cannot be dependent on budget. We had a partnership. In fact, we came out to your own knowledge that it was Farmers' Initiative that we floated the 3 multi-commodity development and marketing companies. Okay? We did not stop at that. We brought in a funding window so that it will not be when we wait for World Bank to give us money, we will start a program. The R&D component of agriculture, which I said and hammered on research and extension, which is research and development, is funding. And this funding, we developed this Nigerian Agricultural Development Fund, the National Agricultural Development Fund. All this we packaged and sent to the National Assembly. It is still in the freezer. And we are talking about development and progression of agriculture. Yes, it is the responsibility of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture not to just start and be in a hurry to make a mark for this administration. The successes are, gained in the past, supposed to be sustained to drive the present so that we can get to our future.
All right, we'll return to the issue of the documents you've prepared. But let's try and get this call in from Ogun State. Jide is calling in from Ogun. Is Jide still on the line?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, I'm on the line.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello? Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The issue about Nigeria, the issue, what you are doing that is not known. What you are doing that is not known is that there is a mistake, a laguna with the agri sector. The farmers who are just not the public sector, not part of the public sector, are suffering all their policy. Their policy is not working for the private sector. According to the AFAN chairman, he will know exactly what has been the problem of all the policies, budgeting, and all they were doing at the ADP is not working for the common farmer, for the peasant farmer in the villages. All the what you are calling anchor is being frustrated by the commercial bank. Only in the northern part, where the northern state government are supporting anchor without necessary capacity, is where only anchor is working. In the southwest, anchor is not working because there is no support from the state. There is no backing of the state. The anchor who are not having the capacity as big as bigger company or the Obasanjo farm are suffering to be able to undergo that process. The capacity the banks are having, no ordinary anchor can meet it up. Because we were asking for 1 billion, they were asking for this. Where the state are enjoying the program in the south is the ADP gathering 20 farmers together for bringing agri. That's not agri. Agri started from a large expanse of land on large capacity to be met before we can achieve anything in the south. The southwest are suffering due to capacity. No commercial bank is ready to take on to anchor with the southwest farmers because they lack capacity, mostly to produce rice. That's why we are suffering Gary now. The more you increase the budget for the state, the worse you get about Gary on the market. The market Gary price of Gary now is growing every day, shooting up to 1,005 per pint of Gary in the southwest. Why is the anchor not treating this? I agree with the other man. The northern states have no problem. So their states are more proactive. They are very, very, in time, foreseeing what their people have suffered. They are pushing to back up their own people in the north. But in the south, Mr. Director of Agri is not doing anything to the southwest. They are not considering that no bank is supporting the peasant farmer in the southwest. Farmers are being neglected in the southwest to the bigger ones that they cannot compete with. Please, something has to be done to this to correct and close the gap between the rich and the poor in the southwest and allow and remove the capacity building. The collateral you are asking on the anchor from the southern anchor, southwest anchor of the farmer cannot be met. I'm still saying it. Union Bank was especially Chai Bank and then Sterling Bank. They were demanding too much anybody can shoot in the southwest to become an anchor or to gather a host of farmers together for achieving this program. As valuable as good the program is to save Nigeria and bring Nigeria out of recession, the southwest are doing everything to jeopardize this process.
Okay, Jide.
The federal government has a good foresight in correcting it. It's only the northern states that are benefiting. The southern are not benefiting anything.
Right.
But I can't say of the southeast, the Niger Delta and all the other rest. There's the southwest in the western zone.
Okay, Jide, you see, you've mentioned that over and over again. Hello, Jide. You've made that point, and that's an interesting thing I really want to take up. Hello, Jide.
Nothing has been done to achieve anything.
Right.
Let me tell you, the problem of Southwest is land clearing.
Yes, Jide, you've made the point over and over again. So thanks for bringing that up. But we'll put that situation to, I guess, here. If I understand you correctly, while there's been massive support in the north for the program, down in the southwest, that kind of support has not been there. And he himself says that the commercial banks are. So the question we'll put is, whose responsibility, if the administrations in the southwest do not give a program the support, the needed support, whose responsibility is it to make them give that support? If the administrations in the north give a support to a policy and those in the southwest don't, whose responsibility is that?
Well, I stand on his own side too, because this is the only opportunity we have to right our wrong in the past. And that's why I said we should not be mono commodity in this anchor program.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if the emphasis is on rice,
it's not.
The quantity or the quantity of production in other states are not there. And this is an opportunity I have to call on the governors of other states, Southeast and South,
right,
to see, like in the Southeast, nothing stops the governor coming up to say, I have a program on Abuja abono, to produce abono for all of us. I have a program on oil palm for all of us. I have a program on aquaculture for all of us. I have a program on cassava for all of us.
Okay.
So it is a challenge.
Okay.
While the North, we are advising, we are suggesting that the North should not stop at Kebbi and Jigawa. Other 19 states, the rest of the 19 states, should come with a blueprint on their agriculture because they don't have any alternative.
Okay.
The North has no other alternative than to go agriculture. Because in Jigawa, my chapter, Afan, even went to the extent of environmental recovery. You know, in Kangiwa,
yes,
you remember,
yeah,
we recovered 600 and something hectares with Jatropha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we recovered that, and the farmers went back to their communities that was sand dune infested.
Yeah.
They were driven away by desert, and we fought the desert and recovered the desert, 660 hectares.
Yeah.
Okay. His Excellency is here. Farmers did it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now, was there any follow-up? It was Dr. Shetima Mustafa who drove this thing. Now, sustainability is a problem now.
Okay,
That sustainability.
We'll come to the sustainability.
Your Excellency,
but
you know, Jatropha has biofuel and everything. It's an economic area. Yeah. Please, I suggest that we replicate it.
Okay.
In other states of the north.
Okay, we'll come to that. It's an important issue you've raised. But let's go back to Kebbi, where we have Umar Anachi calling in. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Cyril. I'm Umar Anachi calling from Birnin Kebbi.
Yes.
Honestly, agriculture is the backbone of any country, economic-wise. And I think the way this administration handles agriculture did not give the required attention it deserves. Honestly, this AMCO borrowing program is a well and good design when it comes to paperwork. But when it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. And I think what is being reported to His Excellency about the whole program in Kebbi State contradicts what is there on the reality on ground. Honestly, the small-scale farmers have not received the required financial assistance by the government. The AMCO's borrowing program, the first consignment, many farmers have not even received part of the money that they're supposed to get for the first consignment. The second consignment, it has not even been implemented. So I think there is need for His Excellency to go and take the people that he entrusted in implementing this AMCOM borrowing program in Kebbi State. It has not been implemented properly. And I want to report to His Excellency that farmers in Kebbi State are abandoning their farmland because they cannot continue to maintain them. They cannot afford to buy fuel to continue watering them. So they are abandoning their farmland. The assistance is not there. Honestly, I have some farmers that even came to me They said if I can buy their own farmland, well terminated, but they cannot afford to continue. So if this is the way that we are going to implement this thing, we cannot get it right. I think there is need for His Excellency, with due respect, to take the people that he entrusted the implementation of this AMCOM borrowing program in Kebbi State. May God continue to bless our country, Nigeria.
Amen. Thank you very much, Umar Anachi, calling in from Birnin Kebbi. Well, at this point in time, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on driving agricultural production, especially with the current administration heading into its second year of being in office. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. The focus tonight is on agriculture. And just before the break, we had a call from Kebbi, where Umar Anachi called in to air his views on particularly aspects of the Anchor Boras program. So, back in this segment, we start off by going to the governor of Kebbi State to respond to some of the issues that Umar Anachi raised.
Thank you. I think just to clarify that Anchor Borrowers program is a program whereby Central Bank of Nigeria, through participating financial institutions, mostly, and in the case of Kebbi, Bank of Agriculture, provide financial resources available to farmers on a model built up for that state. It differs from one state to the other. For example, in Kebbi State, the model that was developed for rice is that a farmer who has a hectare of rice can borrow up to 210,000. A farmer with 1 hectare in Ebonyi is entitled to borrow more than that because land clearing in Ebonyi is higher. So that is what the model was. The role of the state government is to help the rice farmer associations get organized so that their land can be identified, coordinates taken, registered, trained before they meet the conditions to access the Anchor Borrowers Program. The disbursement of the loan is made by the participating financial institution to the farmer, not to the state. The state has never been given any component of the Anchor Borrowers Program. So in the case of Kebbi, the first set of 78,000 farmers who are registered through the program management team set up by the Central Bank, Bank of Agriculture, state government, they received sums of money from Bank of Agriculture. Not all received 210,000 because they don't need it. Some received water pumps, some received fertilizer. 210,000 is the maximum you can borrow. It doesn't not mean a farmer who does not need to borrow should take all of it because you're just exaggerating. So that is how the model works. And we are pleased that the pilot program, which was done to test how the Anchor Borrowers Program can work, achieved significant success in getting those farmers mobilized to produce and mobilizing other farmers who are not even in the Anchor Borrowers Program. Because like I said earlier, in our estimate, which has been estimates by other institutions, shows that the value of output created from the money we in Kebbi borrowed, which is 14 billion, out of which we have already repaid about 6 billion, was over 100 billion naira. Again, I want to use this opportunity to also comment on the remark by the president of APAN about attitude in response to a question from Ogun State. The platform was created equally for every state, but some states have maybe sense of urgency differs. Some states have economic activity that levels that differ from others, and therefore maybe the value of the Anchor Borrowers Program might be higher in some states than it is for others. For example, I know governors who have visited the Ministry of Agriculture maybe 20 times in order to fast track access to, I'm not suggesting that those other governors do not have priority or the interest of their farmers at heart, but because maybe the farmers are more organized and maybe the farmers have more access to other alternative sources of finance, the aggression with which the Anchor Borrowers was pursued across the country is not a north versus south issue. You can find a state in the north that is not as aggressive as other states in assessing the Anchor Borrowers Program.
All right, well, let's bring you back into this conversation, Rashid. And now, the comment has been made about how much benefit the private and public sector derives from this. And I've got to put it to you as well. What's the scope of your intervention and your advice to the farming population in the different parts of the country, across the country? And how much of this do you think has been beneficial to, particularly because you said you deal directly with the farmers, and so yes.
Well, as I've said initially, the seasonal rainfall prediction is being presented at the national level here in Abuja.
Yes.
At the beginning of the Yeah.
So let's go to the different components of the country.
At the beginning of the year, all the stakeholders are invited and they participate in the presentation. Then we go to the states, and then we have our representatives there in each state. We have the state met inspectors who take charge of the states, down to the local governments. What we do is we give them the seasonal rainfall prediction, this is the booklet, and they meet the ADPs, that's Agri Development Program Officers, and then the extension officers. We train them on how to interpret the seasonal rainfall prediction, because we want to see that into the different languages now. For instance, in the north, we want it to be in the Hausa language. In the south, maybe in the southwest, the Yoruba, the Igbos, and such. So our officers go down this much to attend to the rural farmers. 2, we have the apps, which the enlightened people can access. We have 2 major operating systems. Through the Android, you go to the Google Play Store, and then you say NIMET SRP, and then you can have the seasonal rainfall prediction in details, and then even our daily weather presentation. Then you use the Apple iOS iTunes too, so that it's NIMET SRP, through that too you can get. Though through the Android is free, but using the Apple, maybe they make some small deduction from you, they take some amount. Then again, we get to the radio houses. In fact, as I'm talking to you now, our Director General, which is Professor Abubakar Sani Mashi, whom I'm representing here, gave us the directive, which I've already done. In fact, all the governors of the country, that's 36 state governors plus Abuja, and then the ministries that are involved, that's those of our stakeholders in the agri, water resources, and the rest of them. We've taken this scenario for prediction to their offices, and they've acknowledged. I believe it has gotten to all the states. So by so doing, we are getting closer and closer to the farmers. Although it's not that our duty, ours is to say this and that, but we still felt we too will want to participate in disseminating this information, because the more we do that, the better is for the country, yes.
All right, back to the phone lines. We have calling in from Kanu, is Idris. Hello, Idris.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Well, we'll drop that call. Now, we're still talking about the services provided by NIMET. And, well, can your association acknowledge the benefits of these services?
Sure. We have been collaborating with NIMET, both at the federal, the state, and the local government. They have visited. We always participate at their annual takeoff, and then they follow up with our state chapters and the local government coordinates. One is to give the prediction, and then we will start interpreting. Because naturally, the farmers you see at the community level, they are experts at reading the weather. So what they produce, we augment with their basic knowledge, traditional knowledge, and guide them. For instance, that flood that we had that time, you know, we worked together with the World Food Program to tell our farmers, especially those who went down to the Fadama plain to farm. And you know, farmers, when they farm and they have high yield, you know, the Fadama plain, the river banks, naturally, when there is erosion, they carry the eroded topsoil down. And before the water moves into the main body of the water, it filters off the topsoil. So the bank itself is the richest place you can farm. So when farmers come there, they will like not to be going back to their community. They will want to establish their houses there. And incidentally, this weather is always periodical. It's not consistent. And if it comes, it washes them away. especially when there is rise on the tide. So NIMET has been collaborating with us. It's not a question of opening the dam in Cameroon to come down.
All right.
There is always rise when you have the peak of the rain. Okay? So it is the responsibility of the NIMET to educate us. And my organization, which is All Farmers Association of Nigeria, will alert our farmers, including the fish farmers, because they will go there to farm, put their fish in small cages. When the flood comes, it washes everything away. So it's not only the crop farmers, the fish farmers themselves. So their intervention has been assisting us in guiding our members so that they will recover their efforts and investment, not losing it to the vagaries of weather.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. We have calling in from Abuja, Sunday. Hello, Sunday.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to contribute on this.
Yes.
Some time ago, around January, I registered with the anchor borrower in Abuja. Then when I went back to ask them how far they have gone, the manager told me that they have reduced the commodity they gave to other states to 2. Then I went back. He told me that they have reduced it again to 1. That as he's talking to me now, that he is having a meeting with the CBN in Omaha. Then, after some time I went back, he told me that there's a difference between what I heard over the television and radio concerning the anchor borrower and what is on ground in Omaha concerning the anchor borrower. As I'm talking to you now, none of us benefited from it in other states. I mean, the real farmers. So how can we succeed? Which way forward? Please tell me. Not on the television, but the real farmers is what I'm talking about.
All right.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay. All right, Sunday. Thanks for calling. The director here will respond to the issue you've just raised.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sunday. Let me quickly say, like His Excellency, the Governor of Kebbi mentioned the other time, Governor Bagudu, there are several procedures which a state must pass through before you can participate in anchor borrower programs. 1, you must have the off-takers. 2, you must have the organized farmers. 3, the governor of your state must be able to express interest through a written letter to the central bank governor. 4, the farmers must be trained. 5, there must be input providers. So once we all have this, the first thing we will have to do is for the state government to express interest to the governor of central bank that I will be producing plantain in Abia, I will be supporting maize production, I will be supporting any other value chain. Then there must be off-taker for these produce. Once we have the produce, once we have the off-takers, those who will take, who will buy, who will take up this from the farmers at the end of the season, at the end of the production, we must have them. The next thing will now be for the farmers to be trained. The farmers will be trained majorly on 3 areas. 1, on the crops they want to produce. 2, on financial education or financial literacy, so that they will know that this money they are taking is not government money, they are borrowing it. Then there must be the Bank of Agriculture or any other bank through which the funds will be channeled. Okay. Now this fund is coming from a fund known as MSME Development Fund, Small Medium Enterprise Development Fund, which is 225 billion fund created by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The funds for the off-takers to procure this after the farmer must have produced is coming from Commercial Agriculture Credit Scheme, CACS. So like His Excellency mentioned, and Cyril Stober also mentioned, the state government must first express interest and identify produce which the state government will want to support. Okay. Let me state that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is currently facilitating Anchor Bora program on livestock and eggs in most of the southern parts of the countries. We are also in the process of facilitating for Oyo, Ogun, and some other states maize production, and I feel I should address this to erase the belief that Anchor Bora program is only concentrating on it's only focusing rice or the nut alone. Just to quickly use this advantage to also commend NIMET that on behalf of my minister, that we are working with NIMET. We are one of the stakeholders that work with NIMET. We are passing the agro-methodological information to NAERLS. And NAERLS is disseminating it through radio, through jingles. I also want to state that climate change is real. And as a result of this, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has developed National Agricultural Resilience Framework. And this is our National Agricultural Framework Resilience document is the best in Africa. It is now being adopted across the West African country. We developed it with AFAN and with the farmers, and we are currently disseminating it, making it available. Through prompt information, we are now advising the farmer. We are now making drought-tolerant varieties of seeds available to farmers. We are now also making available flood-tolerant varieties of rice available to farmers. We are now disseminating this through extension information. Okay. In order to ensure that we reach more farmers, we are now using e-extension system, a situation whereby a farmer can pick his phone and get the information. This is what we are currently doing. Information are reaching the farmers.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. At this point in time, we'll take our cameras out to the people and try to find out just what they think about boosting crops under the current federal administration. Let's take a look.
You know that before the war, Malaysia came to Nigeria and collected palm seedlings. Now they are among the biggest exporter of palm produce. Where is Nigeria? Everybody has abandoned agriculture. We are going to oil and contract and politics. God has done in this world. The most endowed country in the world is Congo, followed by Nigeria. When it comes to mineral resources, we have fertile soil, we have good clement climate, but nobody's interested. Nigerians don't want to soil their hands. Everybody wants to get contracts. You understand me? Where you make up to 500% profit. So agriculture has there is no priority at all for that. Nigerians don't want to farm. I believe that if 10% of Nigerians we commit, we farm, we go to farm, then the country the hunger will be driven away.
If we want to compete with some other parts of the world in agriculture, we should look at mechanization. We cannot use our hands to do anything and get anything from the farms. We have to mechanize our agriculture. So now that the government is talking about diversification of our economy to agriculture from oil, we should look at mechanization. That is the only way we'll come up to speed. And besides that, the government should have good policies in sharing of fertilizers. fertilizers don't get to the people that need them. If the federal government is getting fertilizers for farmers, there should be a policy that this fertilizer should go straight to the local government areas where the farmers are, so that at the end of the day it will get to the hands of the farmers. Because when we have a lot of middlemen in between, at the time the fertilizers are getting to the farmers, so to say, they are too expensive for these farmers to buy. And so they go without it, and so the yields are low. It is only when we are sure with the government policy that these fertilizers are getting to the farmers that will get a better yield, coupled with mechanization of the agriculture. With this, I think we can compete with other nations like Malaysia and others.
If they can solve the importation, it will help. And also our farmers, if the government can loan them money to empower them in the area of their farming, at least it will help.
When you talk of boosting agriculture in Nigeria, you first of all look at those things that are in place first and how to improve on them. And I'm telling you, one of the serious issues that we're lacking in this country is maintenance culture. I say this because I know that take example of Niger State, particularly. There are Fadama land all over Niger State, like a Badegi rice mill, you understand? Initially, when we were young, if you go to those places, if you see the type of rice they are cultivating in that place, you will feel as you want to be a farmer for your life. But now, if you go to those areas now, you understand, things are just like an eyesore. The government of President Buhari need to focus on is to give more support to Fadama areas. And at the same time, we have an able leadership of Fadama in the person of Tayo Adewumi. He is somebody that has the plight of agriculture in Nigeria. What the government is supposed to do now is to give him support. You understand? There are areas that you need to boost in terms of agricultural development. But if you say that you are improving agriculture, you understand, on the lip service, it will go nowhere.
All right. Nigerians speaking out of about boosting agricultural production. Two key issues came out there. Firstly, question of a key input, fertilizer, and question of sustainability. But good enough, we have here Governor Abubakar, who is chairman of the Presidential Committee of Fertilizer, and he will give us an update on that.
Well, I believe the issue of fertilizer is no more an issue, and I'm sure the chairman Afan will confirm that. Today, we are selling fertilizer explants to the agro dealers, and indeed most of the AFAM presidents are agro dealers in different blending plants at 5,000 naira, and they have to sell at 5,500. And that has been very successful. The fertilizer is available in abundance. We are doing 1 million tons this year with the possibility of increasing it to 1.5 million tons next year, and the same price of 5,000 as well. For sustainability, we have been looking ahead. We have been to Morocco just recently to see how we can build more urea plants locally here, and to see how we can develop our phosphate deposit in Sokoto and Ogun, so that we will also have enough more raw materials here, and that will probably reduce the cost of production for us and increase the profitability of the farmers, because then price might be reduced if this is achieved. So fertilizer is not an issue. It's available at 5,500, and we have telephone numbers there. If you are asked to pay more than 5,500, you call us and we will be there. And also, the quality is good and super good, In recent times, we arrested 2 or 3 adulterators, and we ask also, I want to use this medium to ask the public to help us, support us in finding out those adulterators, because once fertilizer has been adulterated, the quality or the productivity will not be good for the farmers, and that will make the farmer lose a lot of money.
Okay. Well, just for the purposes of emphasis, beyond the price issue, in the past we used to hear that the fertilizer would get to the farmers at a time that is not opportune. That's been taken care of, has that?
Yeah, certainly that has been taken care of. We started production in February, which means the peak period for buying fertilizer is coming around this time, from May till July, depending on the state or the area where the fertilizer is being bought. And we have enough stock to be able to sell to the farmers. I believe up till now I have not gotten any report of shortages of fertilizer in the market, and currently we have also a lot in the blending plants waiting for farmers to buy.
Okay. Well, Prince Ubaka.
Well, you see, we saw today from the back.
Okay.
Why did I say so? We initiated, in collaboration with IFDC, we floated the Fertilizer Producers and Suppliers Association of Nigeria, which over the years past, there were interest group who were involved in fertilizer cartel, importing fertilizer. But today, we want to announce to the nation that nobody will be giving any what do you call it, LOC or whatever, go and import fertilizer, LPO or anything to go and import fertilizer. Because we have the Indoroma and Notore here, and we have blending plants established years back in different zones and different states. So the efforts which was pushed that made the government to wash up its hands in the provision of fertilizer, it is private sector driven now. That is why you see the governor, we have been meeting. The challenge we had was the adulteration and the price, the cost. We met and then came out with that. Most of the things we have been doing in the dark is manifesting now.
Okay.
Yes, and it started and it's being sustained. So that availability is there. And we took into consideration the fact that farming seasons are not unitary. The ones in the south, the rain starts first, and they start farming first. Then in the north, the peak is between May, June, July. And all these things have been taken into cognizance. Our chapter chairmen are encouraged to register with the blending plant as the outlet, because they know the farmers. So that destroys the middlemanship.
Yeah. Okay.
Because our chapter chairmen know the people who need the fertilizer. Not all comers think, I am a farmer, then give me a location. You may be a farmer, yes, but a livestock farmer. You may be a farmer, yes, but aquaculture farmer. But you want quick money. It is the season for fertilizer. You want to invest and get. No, it is not meant for you. That has been corrected.
All right.
Yes.
One very good achievement of the current administration, which the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has also pioneered with fertilizer, is the development of the soil map. We now have soil-specific fertilizer. Gone are those days when we use the same fertilizer for Kebbi, for Oyo, for rivers. But now, with the designing and the development of soil map, we are now able to make available the ingredients needs based on different states and based on geopolitical zones. And with this, we've been able to improve productivities. His Excellency, the Governor of Jigawa, was just saying that rice production per hectare has increased from what used to be less than 2 tons to about 8 tons per hectare. This is the miracle of the soil map.
All right. There's also another key input here that we were talking about, and let's come to Governor Bagudu on that matter. And that has to do with improved seedlings and making them readily available to Prince Ubaka and his nation, in quotes now?
Yes, I think the nation has done well in terms of the availability of research institutes who are quite hardworking, but what has been missing is what is being corrected now. Seed development costs money, and propagation and patenting of seed is an intellectual activity that has to be protected. Otherwise, you lose the benefit of your own research. The major seed companies of the world, Monsanto, Syngenta, thrive on intellectual protection of seed. Seed is no longer a self-replicating organism that a farmer produces and the next year he uses again, but it's a patented product that is protected. Therefore, we need more funding to support the research institutes that we have. IITA, Nigerian Cyril Research Institute, and a lot of them across the country with whom we have been interacting, we and the farmers associations, we have seen significant abilities, but the funding to commercialize, to protect, and made available and on that, it's very, very important as a nation for us to even recognize that seed security is at the heart of agriculture, because genetically modified seeds that are being patented have the effect of destroying vegetations, destroying non-patented seeds in a location. And therefore, we need to regulate more, we need to pay attention more so that we can protect our own seed market.
Now, this issue of the patenting of seeds is one that many Nigerians are worried about, because what they're saying is that isn't this another way where those who hold the patent can continue to hold it to ransom, because you have no choice. They provide the seeds that you use now. It's not something you can replicate next year, or the farmer can easily use again. So isn't that a way of still controlling your agriculture? How do you break free?
Well, the issue of seed business is a different line of business. That is where the research institutes, of which we have up to 21 of them, agricultural related, yes, research institutes. And it calls our attention now. If we are going to agriculture and we want to diversify our economy, we must concentrate, as I made an opening statement, on research. And seed and seedlings, because most of these research institutes produce seeds. Then some of them, like the NIFO, and then Crane at Ibadan, there are 3 crops. So they produce seedlings. And if they are not supported, one way or the other, if they are treated as public sector and there for promotion, then to have academic promotion, they are not business-like.
Yeah, but so why are the commercial? Why are the
okay. we are now the farmers themselves, because what the seeds meant for the arid zone cannot thrive well in the rainforest zone.
Right.
But what the seed companies were doing, they will produce one seed for the whole nation. Then you go and plant it's Oba Super 3 or Oba Super 2. You plant it in Saminaka. Then you will see their reps aggressive marketing, making people to take the same Oba Super 2 in the southeast. So farmers themselves now, we find out that there is specialization and specification. We have an approach, and that approach is community-based seed multiplication program. Now, this research institute produces the breeder seed. Now, after the breeder seed, you have the foundation seed. Then after the foundation seed, you have the seed that we plant. Okay? Now, these are the steps of seed production. Now, if it comes to the tree crops, you have the seed, you have the grafting approach. So the seedlings are now monitored. But bringing everything together, when you talk about patency, the patency as it is being done in other clients. In Brazil, that's why they have Emata, Embrepa, which is the research institute. The Embrepa. Then Emata in Brazil is the extension and is pluralistic. It is not public sector skewed. The private sector come to advertise. Well, I'm coming. In China, it is the same thing. In India, it is the same thing. Even in Israel. So you find out that the research, the patency, goes to the research institute. But as we are talking today, Crane Badegi cannot say we have, NCRIM, the National Cereal Research Institute. Even the Crane Ibadan, Cocoa Research Institute, cannot boast of having patency. Nigerian, the one that banks our gem seeds, cannot say we have patency.
Okay, but may I just ask this? Why would you think that the private sector is not willing to support these research?
Yeah, let me quickly come into this. I think His Excellency has made a very good point. You know, originally, there is a seed regulation body in Nigeria, which is known as National Agricultural Seed Council. All over the world and in line with international best practice, there are 3 classes of seed. The Research Institute holds the breeder seed, the National Agricultural Seed holds the foundation seed, while the private seed companies hold the plantable seed, which is known as the certified seed. But over the time, if you look at the way it is being done in internationally, Cyril, Stober can decide to develop a seed of guinea corn that will be tall, that will have a lot of protein, that will have a lot of fat, that can be used for tuwo, that can be used for varieties of menu. But it was discovered that because we are over-regulating it in the hand of National Seed Service, that is why most of the private sectors are being discouraged from going to private seed companies. Okay. This now explains why we have now made it necessary for any Monsantos, for any seed companies, for any assist company to have the ability to commission a research institute to develop any seed that can give appropriate description you may like, that is the phenotypic expression you may like, that is a dwarf sorghum, a tall sorghum, high protein sorghum. Okay. And once you are able to this, you will now have patents to it for you to be able to market it and for you to be able to reap reap your investment over the seed.
Yes, but briefly also on production, the question you raised on how cost is being transferred to the farmers because of payment of royalties. I think the government is not unaware of that, and most of the states have taken the initiative to start their own research institute for seed production specific to their own state, and also have seed production companies. He knows in Jigawa we have a research institute that is having very good collaboration with the Embrapa he mentioned in Brazil for our seed production. And we have seed processing companies, and I know some of these states are doing that. It's the kind of service that we give to the farmers also in cost reduction. So I'm sure the federal government is doing the same. Most of the state governments are doing the same to encourage the farmers to get the seed without necessarily paying high price or extra royalty to the seed producers.
All right, we've only got a few minutes left here, but there's one aspect which I really must touch on, and that's the desirability of all-year farming So we move away from the issue of the seasonal thing. How much progress have we made towards ensuring oil farming?
I think a lot of progress, except of course it comes at a price.
Yeah.
Because once you expand production of farming activities, it reduces the land available for other occupations. And if the oil farming does not take into consideration the need of other components of the agricultural value chain, like animal husbandry, and then you run into a potential crisis. So we advocate and encourage the evolution of relationship for that in oil farming. There should be more collaborative effort with other users of the land, so that the crises that tend to affect joint production will be avoided.
Right.
Yes, I think the federal government also is doing well. They have started working on desilting most of the dams, desilting most of the channels through trimming projects, and also the project developed by African Development Bank. I believe we have a lot of water resources potential that they are working seriously on to improve the channelization that will bring irrigation, expand the irrigation infrastructure around. We have done that in most of the state. We have increased our irrigation infrastructure over the years tremendously, giving more opportunities for oil farming. Of course, we have to take into consideration, like exactly what Governor Atiku said, the other needs of the other farmers. But I think there is tremendous progress on increasing irrigation infrastructure across the country, and that helps to develop oil farming. We have done in about 45,000 hectares, for instance, in Jigawa. We have done 3 croppings this year. We have done wheat. We are now on rice, and we would certainly plant again at the rainy season. So there's 3 cropping a year in about 40,000 hectares, and we are doing more next year, and I know most of the states are doing the same.
Well, just to quickly say that the federal government is not unaware of the importance of irrigated agriculture. In fact, it is higher. So we're working with Federal Ministry of Water Resources through the development of downstream irrigation, and we are also working on wash bores, tube well, simple irrigation system that can be managed by the farmers. Most especially the hard dams are now the focus of the day. And
well, the oil farming thing is something that has been on, but we specifically have to mention today that some of the states have adopted the greenhouse approach.
Right.
Yeah. So the greenhouse approach will sustain certain specification and specialization of production of crops. And that will ward off the incursion, because what we do practice in Nigeria is open field production. So we cannot control pests, we cannot adjust the weather, we cannot, effectively and efficiently manage the resources. The input resources is not only fertilizer, but the water and the temperature variation and the manipulation of the soil quality. It is the greenhouse approach. If you see in Taraba today, government has bought in the greenhouse approach. If you are going down to Lokoja, you will see that open field, the greenhouse approach. And I know in Kebi and Jigawa, we have in Gumel. Yes, in Gumel. We started the system of rice intensification. So these are the round-the-year farming approach. So we are now moving away from our traditional way of production to a more modern scientific way of agricultural production.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, based on the 2017 scenario for prediction, we're expecting early onset of the rains and early cessation, so that the length of the rainy season will be short So we'll have short growing season. So we expect that rain-fed agriculture be supported by irrigation agriculture so that the farmers can have enough products.
Right now, the period we're in, does it qualify for the onset? Or?
For most part of the country. But for the extreme north, we still have some few weeks to...
So farmers there should tarry a while?
Yes, for the extreme north.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, on a final note, and I'll put this question to Governor Atiku Bagudu, on a final note, can Nigerians look forward to this current administration and say, indeed, it is driving this economy towards increased production to bring down to the barest minimum the dependence on this one product, oil?
I think there is clarity of policy objective, even though a lot needs to be done. We need a lot of money to fund agriculture. We are having too little money going into agriculture. We spent in the last year the money that's spent by the Federation to fund oil production and exploration by the famous cash call is about $9 billion US. In contrast, the money available to agriculture by the commercial agri-credit scheme, the anchor borrowers, and the lending by the banks and budgets of state government is about $1.5 billion US. So for us to get to the promised land, which we believe we need to mobilize more resources and make them available to support production, processing, financing. And I believe we have the wherewithal to do so. And what we have seen in the last 2 years, the mobilization of stakeholders and investment in the agricultural sector suggests all that it's a dream not far-fetched.
How optimistic are you from the farmer's point of view?
Well, my take there will come from the point of investment security.
Okay.
Yes, because the local, we are the investors.
Okay.
And we don't feel secure. So, and as we are talking today, the way to go, there's organized private sector.
All right. Okay.
I head the agricultural trade group in my Chamber of Commerce. There's a Enugu Chamber of Commerce. And a lot is being done there. That is a one-stop shop for networking. It accommodates everybody so that you now know how to manage its agribusiness.
All right.
We should move away from agriculture as social service to agriculture as business. That's my take.
All right. Well, that's just about all we can take away. Except if you have...
Just to quickly wrap up that,
right.
I want to say with about 95% confidence interval, that with current land clearing, extension, input distribution, development of irrigation, provision of agricultural equipment, provision of market to the farmers, we are on the way to successful agricultural production in Nigeria.
All right, and it is on that note we have to leave this discussion. I always say that no one program can take care of all the issues. We'll be back some other time to review the progress that's been made in agriculture. But for now, we'd like to say a big thank you to all our guests. Zakaria Udarazo Abdurrashid, General Manager, Network of Stations, NIMET. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Prince Ike Ubaka, President of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, ALFAN. We thank you for always responding to our call and sharing your thoughts with us. And for Aziz Muyiwa Musibao, who is Director of Agribusiness Processing and Marketing at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, Governor Badaru Abubakar, Governor of Jigawa State, it's been interesting having you join us here.
Thank you very much.
And also a pleasure to say a big thank you to Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State.
Thank you, Cyril, and all. Thank you.
Okay. And also to you as well, we'll say thank you for being part of this program. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.
Our programs are getting better and fresher. And